My name is Prashant Gulwadi, and I'm a volunteer representing the Pune chapter. We are honored today to host this session on simplifying the complex journey of the digital enterprises. A quick synopsis of what we're trying to do. Enterprises are focusing on digital transformation to achieve business agility, a very important need today. And the speaker for the session is Shriram Viswanathan. He'll be presenting his concept paper on his interpretation of what a digital enterprise would be. What are the reasons for its complexity to transform itself into a truly digital company without any paperwork in between? What are the various dimensions the strategy a company will have to transform itself and the approaches to meet its goals? Without any goals, there's no way of setting the tone for the whole transformation, right? Sriram, as you see, is an electronics graduate from Mumbai. He has 3 decades of rich experience in the IT industry. He's the Chief Business Officer in SRKay Consulting Group, and he's also the co-founder of Psyche, which is a digital platform for jobs, work, and business solutions, supported by a professional network and an integrated service ecosystem. He's also the co-holder of the patent on the Psyche algorithm. And maybe when you have time offline, we can discuss more about this algorithm too. Sriram is an avid sports lover. Cricket and badminton has got very witty remarks when we used to work with him earlier. And I now invite Sriram to present his topic and share his thoughts with us all. Welcome, Sriram, to this chapter. And one quick message I missed about him. Sriram was actually one of the hosts in the earlier days in August 2019 when he had the privilege to be hosted by him in the SRK Consulting Group physically in August. Thank you, Sriram. Over to you, Sriram.
Thank you very much, Prashant. Shreya, if you can turn on my video. Thank you. Hopefully everybody can see me now. I just wanted to um, start with what is truly digital business, right? And that is the main definition that we'll focus on today. Hopefully, give me a second. We will find out why it is complex and how we can simplify it. And more importantly, I think how other organizations are approaching it. Is your vision complete? And how do you focus on customer experience? I'll also be sharing with you a small checklist so that each of you who are probably Scrum Masters or project managers, product managers, can ask the right questions to your leadership and truly transform your organization to a digital enterprise. So that is what we will cover quickly, and I'll be happy to take questions at the end of the session. My session will be about 40 to 45 minutes, and then we can open it for questions. So thank you for hosting me, Agile Network India, and we'll get started. So what is a truly digital business? First, even before we ask that question, we need to understand consumers, how they buy, work, live. What are they looking for? Are they looking for flexibility? Are they looking for new things? Between different apps and systems seamlessly. So those are certain behavioral trends that we're seeing, and many people have already embraced it. But a truly digital business, if I have to put it in one sentence, uses technology as a competitive advantage. It is not just uses technology. Of course, technology is the backbone of all digital businesses. But are you using it for your competitive advantage? Which means completely internal, external operations, everything is digital. And can you adapt constantly to all these ever-changing, market dynamics, which are changing by, in the minutes and seconds, and not necessarily in the weeks. So, if I have to define it in one word or two words, if you may, is business agility. And we'll focus on how we achieve that practically. So I'm not going to give you any theory sessions. I'm going to walk you through my journey for the last 4 or 5 years, what all problems we faced, and how we figured the solutions to it. So why is it complex, right? So obviously we saw the rate of change is really rapid in seconds. Consumer behaviors changes. We saw how it happened in WhatsApp. One small privacy policy, of course, very important, but consumer behavior changed and they started looking for other apps. Continuous innovations are happening, continuous disruptions are happening. Of course, all of our competitors are doing relentless optimization of costs or processes or speeds to achieve. And of course, all data is generated and analyzed almost real time. But this everybody knows. How are we influencing those behavioral changes? Because it's no longer about reacting to it. It's about moving ahead and trying to identify those changes and influence them, identifying those innovations and knowing them, and therefore you can respond properly. Do you know if your market completely is changing? Do you know whether cost to consumer is being reduced? And more importantly, with the data, are you serving things in a hyper personalized fashion? So that is what we will focus on today. How do we achieve this hyper personalization? So before we move ahead, I think we need to understand that people are approaching digital transformation in various different ways. But in my opinion, there are three dimensions to it. And one is, of course, the management focus. Are you focused on operational stuff, transformational stuff, or strategy? Similarly, who are the enablers? They could be internal employees, external ecosystems, or more importantly, the customer who is right at the center of this digital revolution. But there is a third dimension, which is cost. If you are not challenging your traditional cost structure, somebody else will. They will come and disrupt your business. If you are reducing it, you're on the way towards transformation, I guess. But if you're truly digital, you will fully optimize your cost structure. That means you will be able to upsell, upscale, attract more clients, service them better, etc., etc. So the idea is how much can we be in the either the orange or the green zone. If you're pretty much in the red zone, you're pretty much, in, I would say, lights on support, which is running your business the way it was earlier, focusing on internal employees, and you have a traditional cost structure. But if you are slightly working with other digital service providers, like you may have some payment systems, like UPI or PhonePay or Paytm or whatever else, you'll be leveraging certain part of digital service provider, which is good, but you're still in the traditional cost structure because you're just taking the payment through some digital means. But if you really focus on customer experience and you're in the operational zone, you will be looking at how to service them better, either through bots or AI enabled bots or other customer facing queries or services. But really, transformation will come when you do a lot of system integration, rollouts, and data transformation. Because if you're already a running enterprise, you have to focus on data transformation. And that is one focus which mostly internal employees will do because of data privacy laws, etc., etc. Uh, but if you are focused on the customer experience side of reducing cost structures, you can look at online customer acquisition. You can look at real-time decision making. You can look at other hyper-personalized ways or data-driven approaches. So that means you are trying to reduce your cost structure by focusing on the customer. You have to provide some kind of a strategic vision to your employees or your organization, and it has to be beyond IT strategy. IT strategy is a key element, but it is focused largely on internal employees. My suggestion would be to call it a digital strategy which encompasses all of these elements. A lot of people are on the digital transformation path. Of course, cloud adoption is now a given. Data aggregation is given. Visualization of all those data is given, but people are struggling in that path as we speak. So, though you have to go down this path, you have to make a lot of, I would say, effort or concentrated effort in this direction to become really valuable to the customer. A lot of people are experimenting with other startups who deliver instant value to business, which is also a good thing. So they are moving towards the holy grail, which is truly digital business. And we will cover what that means and how people are doing it. So, truly digital business is about strategy. It's about completely fully optimized cost structure. That means you can upsell, downsell all in an instant, and it is focused on the customer. Of course, you need internal employees and external startup slash consultants to achieve it. So we saw how this was being done. Many people are taking many different paths. The most easiest path is to develop an IT strategy and hope that works. So many organizations are doing that. A lot of people have started experimenting with other startups. We will see that as well. A lot of people are on the digital transformation journey, and that is a good thing because that will eventually lead you to digitizing your business completely. And there are other people who are jumping right into just one part of business, which is either customer acquisition or customer service, or answering customer queries in a digitized way. So that is also good. So that is the fourth path which people are using. But truly digital businesses is not about one of these paths. The first path I call it is the archaic approach, because it is very bureaucratic. It is not fast. It is not speedy, and therefore people have to start thinking on how to analyze the data in real time. Experimenting is good. It will take you somewhere towards your digital journey, but it will stop because most of the startups will be focused on certain aspect of your business, not your entire business. So you'll have to stitch through multiple such experiments to reach your purple zone, which is the truly digital business. Digital transformation items we talked about. And if you take the fourth path, you will have success in certain areas of your business, and that will help you reach somewhere, but you will not be truly digital or completely digital. So how do we do this? So we tried all these paths in our own enterprise. We failed. We failed fast. We failed late, and all those things happened. But our learning is that you have to do all of this together. And when I say all of this together, that seems like a daunting task. But if you really simplify it into how to do it, it can be very easy as well. And that is what we learned the hard way. The important thing in this path is you will still have an IT strategy. You will still go through digital transformation. You will try different startups and different experiments, but you will learn every step of the way. And when I say you, your business, your internal employees, they will learn every step of the way. And that is the most rewarding, though it is a circuitous path. So it's rewarding because you will learn and you will apply that learning, and therefore you will be able to disrupt your competitors better. And that is the real key. This is something that Gartner said about 2014, which is about 6-7 years back, and they said that a digital business owner needs to be three roles. It cannot be done by one person, or if you have one person, great, but you will never find everybody capable of doing it. So as scrum masters, as product managers, as various other agile practitioners, you will have to from time to time get these three people or two people or these three different roles, which is the digital strategist, digital marketing person, and the digital business unit leader together from time to time. Everybody will be running in different directions. Everybody will be failing separately, and the entire onus comes back onto the technology team on how to handle these different failures or different changes, pivots as we call them in startups, to a different direction. So elements to address there, different business models are evolving. Uh, Products and service portfolios are changing every day. Information is getting generated. Content media and social media channels are being used to market your um, offerings. So all these things are happening simultaneously. So a digital business owner actually has to have a complete drone's eye view of the entire business. And that means they need to focus a lot on customer acquisition, marketing, technology, product management, planning, understanding the ecosystem, etc., etc. So finally, digital business is much more than IT or digital transformation. It is about understanding the customer and what he or she needs to be provided as a service almost instantaneously when patterns are changing. So obviously the person who is the vision owner will be focused a lot on customer, um, but he or she has to handle all these different elements, which means marketing, client facing apps, which is the technology piece, then the entire technology team on how do I do all the tech operations slash dashboarding, how do I do pricing, how do I do planning, how do I do content management, and these are certain things that people will need to do. But the real thing is, all this data has to have some science to it. I'm calling it data science, but people have done a lot of stuff on this as well. But it has to finally lead to data-driven innovation. So this innovation is happening at a rapid pace, and if it is data based, you can really make a lot of sense for the customer, and we will see how we did that within our own enterprise. So, like I said, a digital business owner needs to have a drone's eye view. He or she has to really, be the marketing person or the spokesperson. He or she has to have a clear, view on all the dashboards. They have to really assemble the product and they have to innovate all at the same time. And therefore, it becomes more and more difficult. So if you really look at it, the client-facing apps is the entire agile piece of IT or release management or DevOps or CX, UX, whatever you want to call it, and you have to rapidly give each and every great experience, which is shown by all the programs or products that you deliver to the customer almost on a daily or weekly basis. uh, Everything has to be digital, including self-help support. You have to generate internal and external content. You have to monitor them because you don't want bad content, because that will dilute your branding. Uh, you can choose whatever channels you want, but the real thing is, in marketing, you will have 1,000 misses before you hit one hit, and that is the challenge. Can you innovate every day in marketing? Can you really push your limits in terms of reaching out to the customer in different ways, different channels, different modes of operations, selling the benefits of your service? Of course, this is the IT piece. I will not focus on that, but obviously cloud operations, reporting, security, etc., come into play. Data science also is a key element. But really, are you factoring all of this, filtering and putting all that data into back into the product pricing group for you to reach your fully optimized cost structure? So that is the holy grail or holy path that we have to take. Obviously, the digital economy has fully arrived, but I found this definition very nice. It's the business is a single view. It is right data. It's about integrated analytics, unified KPIs, customer experience, consistent across all channels. So if you achieve these 4 5 elements, you will be really truly digital. So we'll just quickly run across what we did. So this is what is a truly digital business, but how do I do it practically? How do I do it in a real sense? So I wanted to cover a few case studies on that and how we did it, and hopefully you'll find that useful. Hopefully, you'll find that informative, and hopefully, you will apply it into your enterprise. For product managers, you'll have to push your architects to do it. For Scrum Masters, you'll have to push your digital business owner or teach him or her to learn all the other traits, and we'll see how that is done. So we did lots of things, and finally we came up with a solution which is already available in open source. There are also beautiful, I would say, paid products available, which is called feature flags. And this helps you to do is a variety of things. It looks like a small piece of code. It's actually the easiest piece of code to write, but it has tremendous impact on business agility. When I say tremendous, you can actually do wonders with it, and that means you don't have to worry about speed and risky, deployments, etc. You're in full control, and you can actually drive your car at F1 speeds. Uh, with just this one implementation, and we'll see how that happens. So you can classify all these feature flags into ops toggles, release toggles, permissioning, role based, etc., etc. But what it means is you can build every feature and flag it for each of your teams, because all of these are rapidly agile. It's not only the IT team which is agile. It's not the engineering team which is agile. It's marketing. It's QA. It is sales. It is various other peoples are bombarding your product from different directions. So you can use it for A/B testing. Can generate a lot of analytics using this. You can manage rollouts better, and of course, you can do customer targeting very well. So we use something called Unleash, which is a open source free usage. But there are very good products available like Optimizely and LaunchDarkly, which are paid. If you're a large enterprise, you can go and even try those. All of them do the similar stuff. Of course, their implementations are slightly different. So who uses these feature flags? Actually, all the truly digital enterprises use this even today, and the list is growing. But I did not find many of our own, Indian IT firms using it. Hopefully they are, and they're not publishing it. I don't know, but it's not available on Google at least, right? So I hope after this people experiment with this and try more stuff. So how do we see business agility in action? So everybody in the agile slash product management world uh, focuses on the main flow or an alternate flow. But what we wanted was instant rollbacks, because we were failing so fast and there was chaos. We had to roll back everything that we were trying to do at different points in time. It worked for 3 months, and then we changed our pricing strategy, for example. It worked for 3 days, and we changed our cloud service provider, for example. It worked for a particular country, but it didn't work for somebody else. In fact, we had created a personalization for most of our candidates, and we said, okay, what a great day, we should celebrate our Diwali, or our Independence Day or Republic Day. And because we were a global firm, a lot of people thought that we were an Indian firm. So we had to actually undo these kinds of things that uh, we thought were great, but which didn't, the market did not allow us to, our market perceived it differently. So what we achieved with that focus is zero downtime. When I say zero downtime, it is zero focus, zero rollbacks, zero, I would say, restarts. Everything is on the fly. So it is almost like changing the car engine as it is running, and we could achieve that. We could control release to different markets, either a city specific market, a region specific, country specific. We could also go to one single user ID specific markets. So that was very good for us. We did control the deployment. That means features were ready. They could be turned on when the marketing was ready or when the marketing had reached a feverish pitch. So we could do all of those kinds of things. We could completely change our pricing, slabs, different clients at different pricing. So we could achieve dynamic pricing. We could do a lot of other stuff like putting through certain payment integrator system in a certain geography because it was more beneficial monetarily for us. So what we achieved was instant rollbacks and hyper personalization of the entire, I would say, product. Of course, this all sounds very nice, but obviously with every problem comes a solution, and with every solution comes another sets of problems. So we introduced a few gray areas as well, and you know, debugging for issues was a huge problem we introduced because we were so hyper personalized. Out of the 300 different clients that we had, we did not know what was their personalized way of working, and therefore debugging for them became a huge issue. Uh, our number of feature flags increased exponentially. That means we had almost 500 different feature flags in a span of 1 year. And that means we potentially had about 2 lakh different combinations of the product that are possible. Potentially, it was not 2 lakhs, but potentially that is the possible combinations that are available. So how does a person who is a small developer debug all this, right? So we created solutions for that as well. We'll cover that in a separate talk if needed or as part of Q&A. We had different environments. Unfortunately, when we had to demo things to a client, we had a demo user or a demo environment, but that didn't work because that was very different from our production environment. So we had to really have all of that running in the same environment. So we had production, demo, QA, all running in the same environment with the help of feature flags. And feature flag itself became a CI, if you know what I mean. And that was initially compromised, so we had to actually create naming conventions for feature flags, and we had to create administration modules for feature flags. And since rollbacks were easy, everybody started demanding it. Oh, this feature is not working, turn it off for that customer. Or this is no longer being offered in that area, turn it off. So the number of requests for rollbacks were increasing. It was a good problem to have. It was but our product or the IT piece held really strong, and therefore we could service our customers much better in a much hyper personalized fashion. So we talked about what all we need to do to be truly agile or business agility. So we were collaborating with anybody and everybody. But to name a few, we had obviously the cloud providers, we had programmable media providers, web scrapers, resume parsers, SMS operators, everybody, right? We in fact had even a startup which did cloud optimization of our cloud, and they could save us money. So we had to even work with them. We had to work with different consultants, GDPR consultants, legal firms, marketing consultants. Why? Because they bring expertise that a small or a startup may not have, and that is the ecosystem that you need to bring in together to learn every aspect of a digital business. Of course, we did a lot of various experiments in machine learning. Our entire let me tell you a good example that we did was, if you give me a resume, I can tell you which all domains that person works in through machine learning. So if there is no manual intervention, and we could achieve that kind of a you know uh, insight, and therefore you could actually target certain people uh, for certain jobs because they have those domain skills. So these are various experiments we did. Of course, our test automation suites, you know, became exponentially big because of this. But those were certain things that we had to do to solve the problem. So with that, I think a digital, business needs to have certain aspects, and this is just a self-evaluation checklist for yourself or your firm or your team to find out who can answer these questions. Your answers could be different, but are you truly digital will get answered by some of these questions. So do you have a bold vision? Do you have a resilient architecture which can fail fast, roll back fast, or do things really in seconds? Do you celebrate failures? And that is one key element. You have to celebrate all your failures. If you don't have a process for that, people will get disheartened. And do you collaborate with other startups? Is your speed to customer in minutes? Are your rollbacks instantaneous? We talked about that. Is your branding consistent? Do you have self-healing systems so that you don't wake up in the night to, change one toggle or feature flag here and there? Finally, if your IT and business are separate, you're not truly digital. It's as simple as that. They are intertwined with each other. They are like the our DNA, which are completely intertwined with each other. You can't separate them out. If you're truly separating them out, then you are not a digital business. Real time everything. So everything has to be real time. But the real challenge is connected customer experience. You are now going to anticipate what the customer is going to do, not just react or give the person choices. You're going to position yourself in a way which is right for the customer without the customer realizing it, and treat him or her in a hyper personalized fashion. If you really see, recently ICICI Bank has released one ad on TV, which talks about you are the bank. It's not it's not a Mumbai branch or a Bangalore branch or a Hyderabad branch. It is actually you are the bank. It is for you. uh, while marketing it is very nice, it is the right approach as well. Have they connected all the customer experiences? Time will tell. I think they have to a large extent, but there are some rights to go. So with that, I will um, stop here, but kindly make a strategy which is largely customer centric, experiment with innovators, collaborate with disruptors, automate everything, and don't do everything. There are experts and consultants who can do better than you. If you know that, and if you're humble to accept that, you will go further in your digital business. And obviously embrace failure or even celebrate it is something that you have to put a process in place, because everybody, including the IT, marketing, pricing, sales, everybody is failing fast. So if you don't celebrate it, you will not innovate. You will not come up with new ways of working, and that is the real essence of a digital business. And with that, I think I have come to a stop, and I will be more than happy to take any questions that you have around this, and hopefully you will use some of it, the learnings that we had, in a better way in your organizations.
Thank you, Sriram. We are doing good on time. I got plenty of time for question answers. You can take a look at the Q&A box there. As of now, we have two questions filtered out for you. Start my video. Okay, hold on. Yeah.
So is the
So
current course case study on general digital transformation or specific to any industry? Is one question from Krishna Kishore. Thank you for the question, Krishna. Um, so it can be applied to any industry. It can be applied because we are actually in the HR tech world, right? So HR is probably, I don't know if there are any HR guys here on this webinar, but they are probably the farthest away from technology. And if we can apply it to that world, I think it can be applied to many other worlds much easier, I guess. Uh, all steps are meaningful to achieve goal, but requires huge investment. Sponsor would allocate funds stage wise and see ROI before releasing further funds. What do you say? Challenge is to make such a proposal. So even we face similar problems. Our sponsors also release funds in a stage-wise fashion. So we are not. But what we did differently was we embraced open source completely. So we kept a very tight leash on how we spend, right from the cloud to, like we talked about cloud optimization software as well. We used to turn off everything, say at 8 p.m. after everybody logged off their systems, at least in dev and QA. Our entire production used to be initially only out of India, then we added Malaysia, then we added Finland. So obviously our cloud costs were also increasing. So we used to turn them off at different times so that we can cater to these markets much better. So all this comes through data: who's logging in at what time, when are they using it, what time do they actually never use it, what is the dull time. So we can do a lot of those kinds of things with the data. And idea is to start small and then take it further. But if you embrace open source, there's lots of open source available to prove your POC or product. And then once you have more funds, you can upgrade to a better paid product or a paid service. uh, Krishna Kishore, thank you. You said you belong to the HR industry. Thank you for that. And we have done many such things in this, which will be of interest to you. But I'll not go down that path because that will be, selling my company. The idea is to sell feature flags and how you want to completely become a digital enterprise. Do you think COVID-19 has affected digital enterprise in a positive or negative way? So initially, I think there was a lot of negative buzz around it because I would say, what do you say, customers were drying up, funding was drying up. But if you were truly agile or truly business agility was there, you could have cut down all the costs that did not make sense, and that's what we did. And we're still alive and kicking to serve the world. And now I think it is purely completely positive. So a lot of things have changed in the last 1 year, I'm sure, for every one of us. But the future seems much brighter than what it was last March. How to calculate TCO and ROI for digital transformation business case funding. So simply put, many of the TCO calculations today are pretty much, I would say, IT centric, because obviously digital transformation technology is the centerpiece, but I think it has to be slightly more marketing centric, slightly more sales centric as well, which we typically do not cover. So if you really, I'm going to give you a rule of thumb, but it may be different in your industry, so you'll have to find your rule of thumb, Amar. My take is your IT budget should be just 50% of your overall budget. So for example, if you're $100, $50 should be spent on IT, which includes all infra, all people, all programmers, testers, whatever, cloud, everything. And you have to have another 50% allocated to legal, marketing, sales, I would say social media campaigns, blah blah blah, right? So 50-50 is a good rule to go by. I know it is very bad for the IT team, but it is good for the business thing. So that is the trade-off that you'll have to do. Of course, your industry could be slightly different depending on the extent of digital transformation you're trying to embrace. So we committed the biggest mistake of not focusing on marketing, and we are right now doing that thanks to COVID. To answer, I would say Biswas's question. So we had to do it, and we were forced into it to some extent. So design thinking calls for empathy, way to know customer pulse. How did you do? Okay, so we had multiple design thinking sessions. I myself am a UX expert. We had UX experts, come to us. We experimented different things with toughest to please, which doesn't come as a surprise in any case. But we also found that there were not so tech savvy customers in other areas that we were servicing. So we had to actually lower our customer experience. We had to lower the rollouts. Though we were able to do rollouts 7 to 8 a day, believe me when I say that, 7 or 8 different big rollouts used to happen every day. But the customer was not ready for that kind of a change. So we had to actually scale it down. So all this comes through data, right? You find out who is logging in, how long he or she stays, what does he or she do, and where all do they get stuck. So all this data was analyzed, and we could pretty much not predict, but at least react to some of that very well. Hopefully, I answered your question. We'll move on to how it will be helpful for roles and responsibilities as a Scrum Master. Oh, this is absolutely what we enable the product manager or Scrum Master to do, these feature flags, because they were the people who are interfacing with the external world. When I say external world, it could be customers giving demos, it could be sales guys who are getting stuck, it could be marketing guys who want to change our branding, it could be some SEO person who's saying, oh, this is not going to work because your page is not going to get picked up by Google. So all those things are happening with the product manager / Scrum Master. So they are looking at all these inputs from time to time and trying to worry which one should they prioritize, right? Because prioritization is the product manager Scrum Master's work, and not the architect or the IT team's work. So they are into different conversations, and therefore giving them the ability to change these features almost on the fly. They could satisfy at least 60-70% of those requests almost instantaneously. So that kept the I would say noise down. But yes, were we 100% there? No, the answer is absolutely no. Are you able to apply the digital framework in HR processes? Please share some examples. Okay, that's a big topic in itself because I'm part of that industry for last 4 or 5 years. But a quick answer to that is we can understand the mind of every person through our algorithms, right? And how profound is that statement, right? So it is as digital as it can get. So if you take our digital assessment, which is 20 minutes, I can tell you whether you'll be successful as a startup, whether you'll be successful as a tester, or a data science person, or AI and ML are your great points. So what we did for our own teams and for our clients is that we can actually predict who is going to be good at what. So we focused a lot on their strengths and forgot completely about their weakness. We didn't do a single training on their weakness because that was their inherent weakness. It is like teaching, I would say, Jasprit Bumrah to bat like Virat Kohli. It's not going to happen. So you use your strengths, whichever they are, and hopefully you'll find an all-rounder, which is good, which is what the digital business owner is. But you figure a way out to exploit those strengths rather than focus on those weaknesses, and that is completely digitalized. I can do that in 20 minutes, and I'll be happy to have more conversations with you. Empathy is beyond data because it is to know how customer feels about your solution against their aspirations. So it is a continuous phenomenon. Absolutely. I think empathy is beyond data. I agree with you, but that empathy can be deciphered with some of the clicks and the click streaming that the customer does or does not do or gets stuck in certain areas. So that is where we can help. Of course, we are not going to worry about a global empathy data of the customer because we'll not be able to figure that. But where they get stuck in the process, where they get frustrated, uh, we can do sentiment analysis, blah blah blah. This has been done for the last 5 years, so that is not new. It can be done to a certain extent, and that is what we live with. So that takes care of 70-80% of your customers. That is good, and you talk to the others and find out, because human intervention cannot be completely replaced yet, in my opinion. Yet. So I hope, Rakesh, that answers your question a little bit.
We have time for a few more questions. 3 minutes left. Any questions from the organizers themselves, like Priyank, Badri, anybody else? One more question popped up, looks like. Oh, yes, the comment. Thank you. Thank you, Goel, sir. Thank you, Amar. Thank you, Krishna, for this interesting questions. So there are no more questions, then we'll wrap this up. So thank you, Sriram, for taking the time out to share your insights on this wonderful journey and very
Thank you
interesting
very
topic,
much.
all encompassing. And with the ICS example, I think more and more enterprise become digital, where you don't have to go to the banks or do KYC paperwork. Your good examples there. And a person like your example of an inherent weakness not being addressed, like Jasprit Bumrah trying to be asked to do batting. You got your good live examples there. So once again, thank you for supporting the initiatives in Agile Network India, Shriya. And we look forward to work with you again. Thank you, boy. We'll
Thank
have a
you.
yeah, we'll have a short break and rejoin at 11 o'clock.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Sriram. Thank you so much, Prashant, for all your valuable contribution.